Hey, so in the last video we went over how to set up Elasticsearch and Kibana by setting up the configurations in a Docker Compose file. And then we added a little bit more to the FluentD server service as well. So in this one, we're going to tie everything together and run it using the docker-compose command. So let's go ahead and open up the terminal, and then I'll come over here and grab the command, and then I'll explain what it does. So we have docker-compose, which is is what you would generally use. Those are like the bare minimum of the command that you need to be able to use the compose file. And then we have a flag F to be able to specify the name of the file that we want to compose to make our to run our services. And then we have up to then spin up those services, and -d, lowercase d. So this is so that we can have all of this be spun up, and you can see all the activity of all of the services, pulling whatever data is needed and getting started. But once all of that is done, we don't want to be able to see all of the interactions that are happening as the services are going. So I just use that so that I can just close out everything on the terminal, and it's all running in the background. So this command will take a little while to finish completing, because some of these services just have very large files associated with them, so it just takes a little longer. So go ahead and run that. Looks like it's giving me an error, and I think it's about my spacing. The indentation is yeah, it was about my indentation. So the YAML files can be very particular about their indentation, so just look out for that. So if you're ever experiencing any issues like that, error, kind of look for anything in your indentation. It might be an issue with that. So I'm just going to step away and wait for this to complete. Just checking in. It's still taking some time to download, so just waiting for all those files to be pulled, and once they're done, we'll get moving. All right, now all the files have been pulled and are now on my local. It did take a long time for everything to get pulled, but now everything is good. So, or looks good. So let's head over to Docker and see. All right, so you can see that FluentD is up and running. I'm just seeing info and just like one warning level log in here. So FluentD looks like it's up and running well. No issues there. Just wanted to note over here, you can see that it spits back the configuration that we defined. So, it was able to take the files that were on my local and mount them to be here on this container and to be used to set up FluentD. So FluentD looks good, and then let's head over to Elasticsearch. Yeah, again, I'm just seeing like info logs over here, info level logs. I'm not seeing any errors, so that looks like it's good. Plus, these are all green, so that's usually an indicator that everything is up and running well, but sometimes you can see some error logs. Kibana looks good as well. So there is one other step that I have to take so that I can actually start generating logs to be sent here, and that would be to create a Docker image for the Golang application that I created. So I have my Golang Docker Compose file here, and I have the Docker file here as well. So right now I'm in the configs directory, so I'm just going to cd up, and now I'm in the coding challenges directory, which is where this Docker Compose and Docker file are currently at. So let me go ahead and grab the command for that. All right, so I grabbed the command from a file that I had in TextEdit. So it's going to be docker build and -tag, and then the name of the image that I want to create. So I'm going to name it Docker Coding Challenges. And again, this dot here just lets you know that it's in this current directory. So this one's pretty quick. There's not too many steps. So that's done. So now we have our image to be used inside of this Docker Compose file. So we'll go ahead and get the command to run the Docker Compose file. So since there's only one Docker Compose file in this directory, and it is following the traditional, one of the name conventions for Docker Compose, and this here will suffice. I don't have to specify the name of the file. Good, so it was created and it was started. So I do want to take some time to just look over this Docker Compose file. So I'm getting the image that I created from the Docker file over here, and which I generated here in the terminal, and I'm placing that there. And then I'm using coding challenges as the container name, and then as the same as in our previous video for FluentD, this file or this service will be able to utilize the log server um, volume as well. So in this case, for this Golang application, it's so that I can send logs to that location, whereas for FluentD, it's reading from that location. And then I'm also making this service a part of the same EFK network. And then I just have these definitions down here so that it can reference it. And that's pretty much it for that. And then we'll head over to Docker Desktop, and I'll go ahead and look at this, see if there's any logs. Looks like everything is good, looks like it's up and running. And then we'll go over to volumes. So volumes is where that log server volume was generated. So, and you'll see mine says 2 hours ago because I've been working on this project on and off throughout the day. So, but it is up and running. And you can see that it was last modified 3 seconds ago. So it is actively writing to this here. And you can see that the last timestamp was 1352, so that's 1:52 p.m. So you can see that it just updated just recently, and it's updating again. So you can see here the seconds is what's changing. So every 10 seconds, it's updating the app log file. All right, so now we want to be able to look at that, view our logs in Kibana. So I just want to take a step back and go to our configuration file. So we defined in this configuration file the port number for Kibana. So it's 5601, and it's just going to be at localhost. So I already have that bookmarked, so we'll just go to it, and it takes us to the home. So here's where you can start manipulating the data that you have being pulled. But first we have to go to stack management so we can get the index of the log that's being passed in. So here is a good indication that it's picking up the data. It's saying you have data in Elasticsearch. Whereas you may come to this and it may have 3 boxes asking you which method you like to use to populate data into Elasticsearch, but in this case it's picking up the data that's being sent through Elasticsearch, so that index is already being pushed. So we'll just create an index pattern. So this index name here is what we defined in our FluentD configuration file. So here in that output, when we said that we wanted to follow the log-stash format, we put the prefix as fluentd-logs, and you can see it's the same thing here. So that's where that index comes into play. And then since we're following the log-stash format, you can see that it has the year, the month, and the day as its suffix. So that's how we get this name for this index pattern here. We've defined it in that output in the FluentD configuration file. So we want to be able to pull any of the logs that are coming. Say you have this up and running for days. The next index pattern is going to come for a different day. So we want to make sure that we're able to pick up all of those logs as they're coming, even on different days. So we use this format of the wildcard to let it know to pick up anything with that prefix of FluentD-logs. So we'll move on to the next step, which is to just pick the time field, and I'm just going to pick this one here and create the index. So the index is created, and we can come into Discover to see the logs that have been pushed. And as you can see, there's some activity here. You can see that logs are coming. The last one that came was at 1354.35. So there's a little bit of a lag in it showing up here, but yeah, it's populating. And then if you want to see further into this log message, you can see the message that was actually sent. So previously in one of the other videos, I had shown that the Go application was writing to an app log file in my local, or maybe I didn't show that. Yeah, I think I did show it. Yeah, so you could see here in this local when I was running it locally, that it was sending it to this log file here. But in this case now, we've set up some logic, fluently collecting logs from a Go application that has generated the logs, and then it, consumes that. It puts a filter on it to, filter out any logs that I don't want, and then it passes that along to Elasticsearch, and Elasticsearch consumes that and places it on the index that was specified in the fluentd file. And once it's in Elasticsearch, then we can start using that data inside Kibana by creating an index pattern. So I'll probably make some more videos on logging frameworks and maybe get a little further into fluentd. But that's pretty much it for a simple project to start up an EFK stack.